Maria Kovalchuk is a 20-year-old Ukrainian model and OnlyFans content creator who gained international attention due to a harrowing incident in Dubai. In March 2025, she went missing after attending a hotel party and was later found severely injured on the side of a road. She had sustained multiple fractures, including a broken spine and limbs, and required 4 surgeries. Dubai police suggested she fell from a restricted construction site, but her family disputes this account, suspecting foul play and possible human trafficking. Ukrainian authorities have opened an investigation into her case. Have you ever heard whispers about extravagant Arabian parties where glamour masks something far more sinister? Think high-rise penthouses with infinity pools stretching into the sky, champagne cascading like water, and women draped in designer fashion. Behind closed doors, however, whispers swirl, of bizarre rituals, vanishing girls, and a darkness that not even luxury can conceal. Sounds like a twisted urban legend, right? But what happened to Maria Kovalchuk, a rising model, suggests something terrifyingly real. She survived, barely, and what she revealed afterward feels straight out of a horror movie. Maria's experience might only be scratching the surface. There are disturbing accounts of hidden ceremonies, eerie rites, and a string of young women who vanished after attending these so-called elite Arabian gatherings. In a world saturated with surveillance and social media, how can something so horrifying remain hidden? Who orchestrates these secret events? And what truly happens to the women invited into that seductive world of wealth and secrecy? Let's rewind and unravel the chilling story of Maria Kovalchuk. Maria was a 24-year-old model chasing her dreams in the big city. To those around her, she was ambitious, stylish, and determined to carve out a name in the fashion world. While she wasn't yet a household name, Maria had the look, the drive, and enough presence to suggest a promising career ahead. Over the past year, her social media began showcasing a lifestyle that turned heads, stays in luxury hotels, private yacht excursions, and frequent trips to places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Friends began noticing her growing connections with affluent men from the Middle East. Maria didn't talk much about it. When pressed, she'd offer vague explanations like, modeling gigs, promotional work, the pay's insane, and the setup is first class. Some friends were curious. Others raised concerns. But Maria would just laugh it off, it's normal. Tons of models do this. It's all legit. And honestly, she wasn't wrong. Many young women are invited to attend high-profile events simply to enhance the atmosphere, show up, look glamorous, maybe mingle. Large payments. No strings attached, supposedly. But behind the glitter and gloss of these so-called Arab parties lies a shadowy world. These exclusive gatherings are known in modeling circles, secretive events hosted by the ultra-rich, royalty, tycoons, or mysterious elites from the Gulf. Held in Europe and Russia, these events promise luxury but increasingly come with whispers of danger. What begins as a lavish celebration can turn darker as the night deepens: coercion, psychological pressure, and in some cases, criminal acts. There are rumors of twisted rituals, even animal sacrifices, paraded as exotic entertainment. To outsiders, it sounds absurd. To insiders, it's the unspoken cost of admission. Maria had reportedly been attending these gatherings for about 6 months. Her online posts became fewer, her stories more filtered, yet it was clear she was making more money than ever. Then came the trip that nearly killed her. Roughly a week before the incident, Maria told friends she was headed to Dubai for a quick 3-day promo shoot. She was upbeat, excited, and promised to return with new contracts and stunning photos. Then, silence. No social updates. No messages. Her phone switched off. Later, a single brief text, "Hey, I'm busy." That would be the last anyone heard until the truth started unraveling. Police would later uncover disturbing messages from Maria's phone, invites to a secretive gathering, supposedly a party on a private yacht, with an offer too lucrative to decline. But it wasn't a yacht. She and several other girls were transported to a secluded villa on the outskirts of Dubai. What unfolded there, according to statements and leaks, was horrifying: animal blood, strange rituals, and violent entertainment, all for the amusement of distinguished guests. Something pushed Maria to run. Maybe she witnessed too much. Maybe she refused to participate. Either way, she never boarded her return flight. Her agency and friends lost contact completely. 3 weeks after she left for Dubai, Maria turned up back in her hometown, in a state that sent chills down everyone's spine. She was found at dawn by a taxi driver, wandering near an abandoned terminal. Her body was battered, covered in bruises, cuts, and what looked like burn marks. She was barely conscious, her speech slurred, and she had a raging fever. The driver rushed her to the hospital. Doctors were shocked by the extent of her injuries. The police? Even more curious. Maria said very little in the days following her return. Whether it was the trauma, the medications, or sheer shock, she remained mostly silent, eyes vacant, as if pieces of her soul had been left behind. But slowly, fragments of her story began to emerge. "I was taken to a mansion," she said at last, her voice trembling. "But it wasn't a party. It was a nightmare." Her words came in broken phrases, often drowned by tears. She spoke of strange individuals, grotesque rituals, and things no one should ever have to witness. There were animals, a goat, they killed it. It was some kind of ritual, she whispered. And it wasn't just animals. Maria hinted that the line between symbolic sacrifice and something far more horrifying was disturbingly thin. According to her, there were moments when it felt like the girls themselves were being prepared, not as guests, but as offerings. When she tried to flee, Maria claimed she was beaten and locked in a room. Days later, she was quietly flown home, not in business class, but under escort, like cargo. Dumped near the airport and left for dead, the people behind it likely assumed she'd be too broken to speak. But what she remembered cracked open. Something much darker. Investigators digging into Maria's past discovered she wasn't the only model invited to these shadowy, promotional events. She had been in contact with several others, 2 in particular stood out, Diana and Sonia. Both had also flown to Dubai. Both had since vanished. One chilling message was recovered from Diana, a voice note sent to Maria. "Masha. I can't hear you, please, help. It's hell. They're doing horrible things. I saw someone dragged into the basement, and then, screaming." After that, Diana was never heard from again. Sonia's story ended more tragically. Her body was pulled from a river weeks later. The coroner listed drowning as the cause of death, but her family didn't believe it. The bruises on her body, the fear in her last few texts, told a different story. The authorities tried to investigate, but jurisdictional boundaries and lack of evidence stalled any progress. Now, with Maria's return, a disturbing pattern began to form. Journalists started combing through old reports. One by one, they unearthed the names of 5, maybe 6 other young women, all models, all traveling abroad for secretive gigs, all of whom disappeared or died under mysterious circumstances. Everything pointed to an underground network, a group orchestrating these so-called parties. Rich, powerful men from Gulf countries using their wealth and influence to lure women in. But these were no ordinary parties. According to testimonies, these events descended into full-blown ritualistic ceremonies. At first, it was shocking displays involving animals, goats, rams, sacrificed while wealthy guests raised their glasses, laughing as if it were just exotic theater. But it didn't stop there. Some survivors claimed that under the mask of ancient tradition, something much more grotesque was taking place. Girls were forced to drink strange concoctions, disoriented by loud music and flashing lights. Some were coerced into witnessing, and in the worst cases, participating in, violent acts. Security was tight. Armed guards patrolled the halls. No phones, no cameras. Girls signed NDAs in exchange for hefty pay. Once inside, there was no way out. Maria wasn't naive. According to friends, she had seen something disturbing at a previous party months earlier. That time, she'd escaped with bruises, but nothing permanent. She was a newcomer then, kept her head down. But the promise of a massive payout brought her back. This time, they told her, "You don't need to do anything. Just smile. Be beautiful. Everything's under control." Everything wasn't. Among the guests that night was a man known only to a select few, Sheikh Abu Khalid. A man with a cruel reputation and chilling eccentricities. Maria had heard of him. She never wanted to be near him. But there he was. According to texts she sent a close friend, a bizarre ritual began to unfold. Live music played as a scene was prepared, not just for the sacrifice of animals, but for something more sinister. Maria and several girls were almost dragged into the ritual, forced to watch, forced to stay. The ceremony went on for hours. When it ended, the guests were escorted to separate rooms. That's when Maria knew something was very, very wrong. She tried to leave. Tried to argue. Guards in dark suits pushed her back, tears streaming down her face. She was shoved into a corridor with other terrified girls. When she resisted, she said, one of the men punched her. Everything went black. She later woke up in a locked room, facing a man who called himself Mahmoud Aldari, the alleged ringleader behind these events. "You've seen too much," he snarled. "You talk, you die. Stay quiet, and maybe you live." Maria knew in that moment, pretending to submit was her only chance of surviving. Maria agreed to everything they asked, not out of choice, but out of fear. She just wanted to survive and get out of that nightmare. A few days later, she managed to make contact with someone outside the villa. But her attempt was discovered. The next few hours, she said, were nothing short of hell. She was beaten, electroshocked, tortured in ways meant to break her completely. At some point, the decision must have been made, they wouldn't risk keeping her around. Whether it was hesitation to kill her on foreign soil, or cold calculation that her injuries might finish the job, no one knows for sure. According to the official story, she was heavily sedated, put on a plane, and dumped from a car near her hometown. She was found early one morning by passers-by, barely conscious, her body covered in bruises. Maria had fractured ribs, broken wrists, and deep burns. Forensic experts later confirmed many of her wounds came from blows with a heavy object. In the hospital, she remained silent for days. When she finally began to speak, what she revealed left investigators stunned. She described in haunting detail the brutal rituals, the masked men, the lavish mansions turned into dens of cruelty. But there was a serious problem: Maria had no solid evidence. No clear photos. Just a few blurry images on her phone, taken in haste. Still, she named names. She spoke of Sheikh Abu Khalid, Mahmoud Aldari, and others, men whose power extended beyond borders, men untouched by any law. An investigation was opened, but progress was slow. The agency that had arranged her trip claimed ignorance. Officials in the Gulf remained silent. Other girls who might have testified were too terrified to come forward. Then, another piece of the puzzle emerged. Just a week before Maria's escape, one of her close friends, also a model, had disappeared after attending the same event. She was never found. Rumors swirled that she had become the centerpiece of one of those grisly ceremonies. But no confirmation ever came. That may have been what pushed Maria to try and run, a desperate attempt to avoid her friend's fate. But that decision may also have sealed her own. For the powerful men behind these events, a girl who didn't follow the rules, who knew too much, was nothing but a liability. The story of Maria Kovalchuk sparked outrage, but mostly online. Social media buzzed with fury and fear. Independent blogs covered the story in depth, but mainstream media kept its distance. Why? Because the names whispered in Maria's account, the alleged perpetrators, were tied to some of the most influential families in the Middle East. Some bloggers accused oil billionaires of bankrolling these private parties, where the lines between entertainment and evil had long since blurred. Government officials declined to comment, stating the investigation was ongoing. But those close to the case confided a darker truth. There's too much money involved. No one wants to go up against them. Maria survived, but barely. Her recovery was long and agonizing. Multiple surgeries, a slow and painful rehabilitation. Her body slowly began to heal, but her mind, not so much. Doctors said the trauma might follow her for the rest of her life. Even while recovering, she received threats. Untraceable messages, unknown voices warning her that if she dared to press charges or name more names, she wouldn't survive the next time. Still, Maria gave her statement. But when it came time to name specific individuals, everything stalled. Her memories were patchy, clouded by fear and drugs. The police collected only circumstantial evidence, snippets of conversation, vague texts, a few disturbing photos showing blood-stained objects, nicknames of the sheiks. But the men in charge? They stayed in the shadows. None of them were officially summoned. The lawyers trying to help Maria admitted the painful truth: this was bigger than anyone had imagined. Big money. Deep ties. International protection. And the darker side of these parties? It remained a myth to the outside world. People might joke about elite parties, private jets, and escorts, but no one wanted to believe that real rituals involving blood and pain could exist behind all that luxury. No one wanted to believe that the clean-cut, elegant men from luxury car ads and perfume commercials could be capable of such horror. Maria, meanwhile, remained trapped in the aftermath, a recognized victim, but with no justice. Just a week after she was found half dead, it's likely that the same men were already planning another gathering. Another country. Another villa. Another set of girls who didn't know what they were walking into. Her discovery on that cold morning in the suburbs didn't stop the machine. For those behind it, she was just one mistake, one that had to be covered up quickly and quietly. Those close to Maria hoped her words would be the start of something, a trail that would lead all the way to the top. But reality was far more brutal. International borders, diplomatic ties, and the unwillingness of officials to challenge wealthy allies meant that nothing ever reached court. And so, that harrowing chapter of Maria Kovalchuk's life came to an end, but the truth about these Arabian parties remains buried under silence, fear, and money. While the victims are left broken and silenced, the orchestrators walk free.